Welcome to Orange Coast Try that again. Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm brand new. My name is Jolene Ibanez, and I'm your worship associate today. I'm joined by Wendy Karn, our intern minister, Steve and and the air show. Thank you. For those of you on Zoom, maybe you won't be able to hear it, but we will. Steve and Susan leading our music today. Yay. And Karen Magoon Pearson, I believe, is here today. Yes. And we're welcoming you here this morning. Reverend Sean, our lead minister, is not in today, but she will be back next week. We would also like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped put this service together today. You would like to? Okay. We respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Ahachiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together, not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. The covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept each other and we encourage one another in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. Bless you. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard for the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. And for our Zoomers, we ask that you say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. Later in the service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you would like to do so. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. And this morning, I would like to invite Ava Lou Goodwin Noriega, who has been with us for 40 years. Not like me, just starting today. And together we will say, love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Give her a hand for not burning down the house. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our opening song. We will sing each verse twice all together, all the way through, and then you will choose the verse that you like the best to continue with. Okay?
Ancestors who spoke with the bravest fire, lend us your senses, that we may know another world is on her way, breathed into life with our participation in her creation. Forebears who led the way where there was at first no way, lend us your persistence, your temerity, your assurance that the moral arc of the universe does, indeed, bend towards justice. Ones who went before us, sacrificing for a future not your own, help us to give ourselves that sense of the common stones in our hands today, that they might be cathedrals of compassion today, halls of restorative justice tomorrow, sheltering walls of beloved community the day after. It is Sunday morning, the day we gather. Let us be thankful and full of praise to be in the company of those who came before, yet are ever in our midst.
And you can honor mine. We all want the same things from life. We want peace, love, and prosperity. But can we give up our need to be right. Give the world a present, give the gift of your acceptance. Give the world a present, give the gift of your acceptance. Some believe that God's a him, and some say she's a her. Does God live here in our hearts or out in the universe? Gandhi was a Hindu, Martin Luther King a Christian. Regardless of religion, they knew love was the mission. They call you an Israeli and they call me an American. When I look at you, I don't see a country, I just see my friend. I pray we're in each other's lives for a long, long time, because I honor your choices and you honor mine. We all want the same things from life. We want peace, love, and prosperity. But can we give up our need to be right? Give the world a present, give the gift of your acceptance. Give the world a present, give the gift of your acceptance.
Morning. So this weekend, many people around the world are celebrating the Mid-Autumn Festival, which is also known as the Moon Festival or the Mooncake Festival in China, and it's more of a children's festival in Vietnam. And several other East Asian and Southeast Asian cultures celebrate other festivals at this time of year too, such as Chuseok from Korea and Tsukimi from Japan. And I know Reverend Sean spoke a little bit about them in her sermon last week. My family and I were lucky enough to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival together on Friday. At the Great Park in Irvine with thousands of our neighbors. We saw another family from OCUC there too, so that was exciting to run into. And people have been celebrating the fall harvest and the full moon in China for more than 3,000 years. And there's one Chinese legend that is associated with both the Chinese celebration of the Moon Festival and the Vietnamese celebration of Tet Chun Tu. And because this story is so old, there are lots of different versions that have developed over time. And Wendy's going to be talking a little bit more about how stories have a tendency to grow and change like that in her sermon today. So one version of this story goes like this. It is said that long, long ago, one day, 10 suns appeared in the sky. 10. Can you imagine? It was a disaster. The water started to dry up and people couldn't go out of doors at all. It was horrible. But there was an archer named Ho Yi. And Dominic and Julian got to meet Ho Yi at the Mid-Autumn Festival on Friday. So Ho Yi could shoot anything with his bow and arrow. He shot down the extra 9 suns and saved everyone. The Heavenly Queen Mother, the great goddess, gave him a pouch filled with the elixir of life that granted immortality as a reward for his great deed. However, Ho Yi didn't want to live forever. while his beloved, kind-hearted, and wise wife, Chang-e, grew old and died. So he decided he didn't want to drink the elixir and instead gave it to Chang-e for safekeeping. But all of this was noticed by the treacherous Feng Meng, who wanted the elixir for himself. So while Hou Yi was off hunting, Feng Meng tried to steal the elixir, but Chang-e caught him. Feng Meng threatened her with a sword, but she was a quick thinker. She knew it would be a disaster if Feng Meng was able to become immortal, so she quickly drank the elixir herself, which made her immortal and caused her to float all the way up to the moon. After hearing the news that Chang-e flew to the moon, her husband, Hou Yi, was devastated. He longed to be reunited with her, but all he could do was put out food and cakes, which were her favorite foods for her to see. And thus, to this day, people appreciate and honor the moon for her sacrifice, and it is the custom on the evening of the Mid-Autumn Festival to eat moon cakes outdoors with family members, who are the biggest blessing, to look up into the sky, and to ask blessings from the Lady of the Moon. But this story is 3,000 years old, and many different cultures have adopted this story and changed it just a little bit. So here's another version of the story. So after the hero, Hou Yi, shot down 9 of the 10 sons, he was pronounced king by the thankful people. However, he soon became a conceited and tyrannical ruler. In order to live long without death, he asked for the elixir from Shi Weng Mu, a mother goddess. But his wife, Chang-e, stole the elixir because she did not want the cruel king to live long and hurt more people. So she drank the magic potion herself to prevent her husband from becoming immortal. Hou Yi was so angry when he discovered that Chang-e took the elixir, he shot at her as she flew toward the moon, but he missed. Chang-e fled to the moon and became the spirit of the moon, and Hou Yi died soon after because he was overcome with great anger. And thereafter, people started offering a sacrifice to Chang-e to honor her for saving them. In a third version of the legend, Chang-e and her husband Hou Yi were already immortals living in heaven. And one day, the 10 sons, like child, of the Jade Emperor transformed into 10 suns up in the sky, causing the earth to scorch. And the Jade Emperor asked Hou Yi to stop his 10 sons from ruining the earth. So Hou Yi shot down 9 of the sons, leaving just 1. Jade Emperor didn't really like that solution. The Jade Emperor was so sad and angry at his 9 sons' death that he punished Hou Yi and Chang-e by sending them down to earth to live as mortals. Distressed by his wife's grief over becoming an ordinary mortal, Hou Yi journeyed to meet the Queen Mother of the West and requested a vial of her elixir. The Queen Mother warned Hou Yi that the elixir must be shared between him and his wife, or they would not become immortal together. Upon arriving home, Hou Yi stored the vial in a case and warned Chang-e not to open the case before going off on urgent business. Impatient and unwilling to wait for her return to heaven, Chang-e swallowed the entire vial of elixir. Because of the double dose, she kept on floating until she landed on the moon instead of landing in heaven, which was in the clouds. So stories often change over time, and the story of the Mid-Autumn Festival shows us that heroes can turn into villains, and villains can turn into heroes. And that's something that's important to think about when we choose to use stories as the basis or the inspiration for our beliefs. So I'll wish you all a happy Mid-Autumn Festival, Chung Tu Vui Vei, and I'll light our children's chalice as we sing our children and their teachers out to their religious education classes.
To
This story starts out with a lawyer among the crowd of people asking a question of a man named Jesus, who at that time was simply known as a teacher who often gave the answers to questions in the form of a parable, a story that teaches a lesson. The lawyer was asking for some clarification about what it meant to love your neighbor as yourself. He asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" To which Jesus replied, "A man was going down to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers who stripped him, beat him, and left him half dead. Now by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, he passed by him on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved to pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, 'Take care of him, and when I come back, I'll repay you whatever you spend.' Which of these 3 do you think was a good neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The lawyer replied, "The one who showed mercy." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." As we go into our meditation today, you can soften your gaze or close your eyes or do whatever you do that helps you get into that space of contemplation. And I invite you today to maybe think about a time when you have either given or received help from a neighbor. What does it feel like to give and receive mercy? May we be both givers and receivers of mercy. So when I was a kid, I went on many road trips with my family, and I was about 5 or 6, and I was a new reader, and I kept noticing a bumper sticker. Well, it looked like that bumper sticker right there. And it probably seemed like kind of a random question when I asked them what it meant, but they were quick to answer. And I find out it's a club for people who would stop and help you on the road if you had a flat tire, or if your radiator was overheating, or maybe you ran out of gas. I don't know. If you had that sticker on your car, it meant that you were a helper. And I knew what a helper was because I watched Mr. Rogers. I kind of wondered why we didn't have one. And they didn't really have a great answer for that. My parents knew a lot of things, but they didn't know much about fixing cars, as it turned out. For years, I literally thought that a good Sam was a guy that fixed vehicles or maybe gave rides into town to folks who were stranded on the side of the road. People liked what he did so much that they made a club and bumper stickers in his honor at the end. I eventually learned that in Sunday school, there's way more to this story, and the Good Sam Club was just that. It's a club for RV enthusiasts that wanted to look out for each other, and the name of the club was obviously inspired by the Good Samaritan story. So a good story sticks around for a reason and remains relevant over time and teaches us something about how to live in community with each other. The Good Samaritan story is a story like that. In our Time for All Ages story, we heard a great example of how stories change over time. 3 different versions of the same story. As well known as this story is, it only appears in the Gospel of Luke. So Luke is the 3rd book in the New Testament and one of 4 canonical Gospels that gives account of the life of Jesus. The Gospel of Luke is dated between 85 and 95 CE, Common Era, making it the last of what scholars refer to as the Synoptic Gospels. Synoptic means seen together, so 3 stories, 3 different versions, kind of like our Time for All Ages story. So these 3 Gospels, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, share some content that suggests they had access to similar stories, but though they share content, they have significant differences in what they conclude and how they represent the teachings of Jesus. So all 4 Gospels likely included stories that had only been passed down through oral tradition by storytelling, in addition to what might have been captured in writing at that time. Maybe the reason why the story of the Good Samaritan is not in Mark or Matthew is because people weren't even using that road yet. Maybe the road wasn't even there yet. Perhaps also it just didn't fit with their gospel narrative and how they wanted to tell the story. Our stories change because we change. So part of the story of the Good Samaritan has stuck around with us. Part of the reason is because we've all been there. We've all had a situation where we were able to help someone out, return a wallet, or help someone who had just fallen off their bike. If we see someone needing help and know what to do, I think a lot of the time we do that. It feels great. And I'm sure we've all been the recipient of a Good Samaritan too. Ironically, I did get helped out by a Good Sam. Not too long ago, I was on the freeway, and as I was driving, a giant piece of truck tire went over the windshield of the person in front of me and then under my car. I really didn't have any time to make any other choice but to run over it. And at first, by some miracle, it seemed like things were okay, but by the time I pulled into my neighborhood, I had to pull all the way over because the plastic that protects the undercarriage of my car was dragging below the front bumper. I got out of my car, and I was trying to figure out the next step when I see someone coming over from across the street. And it was one of our gardeners that comes to take care of the community green belts, and we introduce ourselves as best we can in our broken English and broken Spanish. His name is Javi. He was a youthful Hispanic man who no doubt had spent the whole day cutting grass. His clothes were covered with it, and I was surprised that he would even notice me after such a long day. But he carefully pulls the broken undercarriage up from where it's wedged into the asphalt by this time. I mean, it was really in there, guys. After he's done, he grabs a rope and he ties that piece to the bumper of my car. And I thank him profusely. I reach to my purse, but he waves his hand and says, No, Wendy, de nada, it's nothing. Javi did a great job. It was such a good job that it lasted a couple of weeks. I know, I had to order a part. So when they looked at it, honestly, they were like, You're fine. You're fine for a couple of weeks till it comes in, don't worry about it. and I kept on driving. So just like in the story, he took care of the immediate situation and made sure it would be okay for a little while. At the time when the story was being circulated, there was great hostility between the Jews and the Samaritan, so it might have been surprising to the audience at that time that this third traveler on the road to Jericho was the one to help. A Samaritan may have thought to be more of an outsider than a neighbor at that time, and my situation was not exactly life-threatening or death-defying, but if anyone was going to magically appear and help me out, I would have thought it would have been someone who lived in my neighborhood because I was in the neighborhood, rather than someone who was just passing through. But I wonder if that traveler was surprised that the person who may have saved his life, the man who had been beaten and left for death, if he found out he was saved by a Samaritan. I mean, I had even met a Samaritan before. This road that we're on, it was treacherous. It was 18 miles of rocky desert landscape, and Jesus uses this road for its story because it's known for having bandits. It's known for dangerous outsiders and not really helpers. So he uses up to lift up the message that in true community, everyone is your neighbor. So what about these other two people who walked by the Samaritan before he gets there? The priests and the Levites were both well respected within the community Jesus was addressing. Of course they would help, right? So the first person to walk by is the priest. He's likely to be coming home from temple service. And the second person to walk by was the Levite. And a Levite is someone who also is a temple worker, possibly a scribe. Both the priest and the Levite may have had even a pretty good reason to avoid the man. Both of them may have been concerned about impurity from contact with a corpse. There's laws against that. Even today, we're hesitant to break the laws that we have. But my question is did they even take a check to see if he was breathing? We don't know. But it's a pretty good reason not to stop if the man was already dead. But I think in the case of both of these people, the reason they didn't stop was far more relatable. They were both coming home from work, a long day at the office, or temple, maybe. Maybe it was getting late and they themselves were worried about getting attacked by robbers. Maybe there was someone at home waiting impatiently for them to return. Sometimes we walk past things simply because we don't know if we'd be able to help them anyway. Nonetheless, in this story, Jesus is talking to a mostly Jewish audience, and it would probably be assumed that one of these people would be the one to help the man, not the Samaritan. What makes this relatable is that we've all done something like the priest or the Levite at some point. Have you walked past an unhoused person because maybe you just didn't know how to help them? Have you ever scrolled past an article on climate change just because it was too enormous, too overwhelming? I think it's safe to say that we've all done something like this, and it's why in the story Jesus tells here, it's the people in the audience that the audience looked up to, a Levite, a priest, people who are lifted up as infallible, unprejudiced, compassionate leaders, but of course, they're not infallible. Even the most admired people among us are really just humans at the bottom of it. Sometimes they ignore the pain they see in the world too, even if it's right in front of them. So this ancient story is still pretty relatable, right? Each one of these characters has their own version of the story based on their perspective. And this is also true about how we perceive the story of Jesus himself. What his teachings were about, what his intentions with this ministry, or what he actually even said, they're all subject to our own interpretation. And it can also change by what is emphasized in the message. So take the Apostle Paul, for example. He lived around the same time as Luke. Paul never met Jesus. His interpretation Her interpretation had a radical and lasting impact on Christianity. The Apostle Paul portrays Jesus as the Messiah, someone who would save us at the end of the world if we were believers, and the end of the world was coming soon. To Paul, it was coming imminently. That's not how everyone interprets this message, though. Some saw him as an enlightened rabbi, a man of his time giving a modern interpretation of the Hebrew scriptures. He did kind of update the 10 Commandments, after all. Others saw him as a radicalized Jew who wanted to overthrow the government. But if you look at what Jesus does in the Gospels, no matter which one it is, he delivered messages. He preached to the poor and wealthy alike. He spoke to people who were marginalized by their ethnicity, their profession, their ability, their health. The message that Jesus preached was for everyone, and everyone is your neighbor. Everyone. This is echoed in the first principle of Unitarian Universalism, to see the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So consider this as a reminder that we maybe don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to Christianity. And I know that can be hard for some of us. Christianity is still interpreted in a wide range of ways and a wide range of religious perspectives. And some of us may feel that we were harmed by those messages that say we won't be saved unless we conform to rules. Not everybody likes rules. Ideologies that suggest that we live our lives in a certain way that don't agree with who we love or what we believe. Sometimes it just leaves us behind, and ideas that rob us of our inherent worth and dignity sometimes live in other interpretations. As I've been going through my seminary experience at Meadville, I look at the Bible a little differently. I started out with a bumper sticker, so here's one that I rolled my eyes at for decades. In my perspective, I just didn't believe it, but now when I look at it, I have a different interpretation of the person who is driving that car, and that bumper sticker says, Jesus saves. I can now see it as a reminder that the teaching of Jesus can save us from being our own worst selves sometimes, not necessarily from eternal wrath. Like with the Good Sam story, I learned early in my life that I have a lot of experiences to come from when it comes to interpreting the full parable of the Good Samaritan, rather than that just little piece I got on my road trip. What it looks like to leaning into a different practice is to give mercy to people who understand that everyone is our neighbor. We may not be able to be the good Sam all the time, but maybe we can be more merciful more often.
Please rise and body your spirit and join us in singing our returning song. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
I like that one. Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half of our plate that we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month we are linking with, and this was surprising to me, Elementary School, which is in Costa Mesa. It's a public school. So we think to ourselves, well, why do they need money? And in fact, I looked up their website, and I just put together 2 and 2. We've been trying to build our sanctuary and getting mired down with like bureaucracy stuff, right? Do you know that all of the Costa Mesa schools from elementary through high school have gone through huge remodeling projects? They're building a theater at Estancia. There are new pool decks, new sand volleyball courts, new multi-purpose rooms for the elementary schools. Build. It's no wonder we got just timing, right? But that having been said, then why do they need our help, right? Getting all this money thrown at them? Because they're not getting any help with their robotics department. And what we're trying to do in all of the elementaries in Orange County is really prepare our kids so they can get to high school, get to college, and get good jobs. And one of the big areas is robotics. And what they do here is they do a whole competition using Lego robots. You should go on their website. They're so cute. And they compete with other kids all through California. So that's what your money is going to go to this month, and I think it's awesome because those kids they need us to back them up with stuff that the state and our taxes don't pay for. Thank you. With that, there are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can simply use the basket as it is passed. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. And as always, thank you for your generosity.
Person
Please join in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts that we share.
Now is the time when we honor the important events in our lives. You are invited, one and all, whether you are a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. So let's take a deep breath. And release. Perhaps you come here today holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days or hours that have struck you at your core. If you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you are invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward and light your candle. If you'd like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it out on a slip of paper, provided, and hand it to me. Let's hope those guys are okay. We'll just put that out there. If you're a Zoomer, you're invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat. Once our roomers are done lighting candles, I will read all of the joys and sorrows shared out loud. Lori Kruge lights a candle for the Zoomers. And as music is played, I invite you silently to offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. We'll start out with Lisa L. My daughter, Brianna, she lives in a house behind this campus. Please pray for hope for her healing as she fights cancer while raising 2 twin boys. Remembrance for flowers today in remembrance of my beloved husband. That's from Marilyn F., husband of 31 years. F. Coleman would also like to remembering my son Joel's birthday yesterday. He would have been 54 years old. Miss him dearly. Sandy M. is thinking about her dad, who died 10/1/2001. He was born 105 years ago in 1917. Thank you. Liz Phelps, longtime member, celebrated her 96th birthday in September. She is at home on hospice. Phipps, thank you. Liz Phipps. Matthew P., very excited for the rain. We need it, and hopefully there will be a lot more so we can get out of this drought. Marilyn G. spent the weekend in Phoenix, spending some days with her younger sister and then with her longtime friends of over 50 years. They were there for a few days. They all met in 1965 and have been gathering annually in friendship since 1990. Let me make sure I have all of these and we'll move on to our Zoomers. So Linda C. would like to express gratitude for everyone who has healing wishes for Jim as he recovers from COVID for the celebration of their 50th wedding anniversary on September 23rd. And another joy, Peggy P. She's glad to have the Pacific Air Show ending today since they fly overhead. But she wants to say that she does enjoy them. I will add that one of my cats does not enjoy them so much. And I wanted to express joy for the film festival that happened last night. That was the first time I've been to one, and it was really an amazing, enlightening experience. Happy anniversary. Thank you so much. I think that is everyone. That's okay. It got out there, and that's the most important thing. So let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations, all the hurt and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. Please join Lori in a spirit of prayer or meditation.
A lifelong sharing by Mother Teresa. Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. Whatever form we are, able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. A lifelong sharing with others. Blessed be, amen.
It's time for this. We extinguish, everyone together. We extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. Yet when we gather together, whether we are in the room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to either write in the chat if you're a Zoomer, or if you're a roomer, to stand for a brief moment to tell us your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lomax. I live in Aliso Viejo, but I come down here every day to help my daughter. She's the one with cancer. And I'm disoriented here. But she's the house back there where you guys put up a fence. Yeah. So hold her in your heart. She needs all the love. Thank you.
I know another Lomax. I do. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@ocuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at blast@ocuc.org. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we will help you get connected. And now, Wendy.
Hello. We have some announcements of some very cool things happening here in the community. Although I must announce the AHA group at 12:15 has been canceled today. I'm so sorry. So hopefully they will be returning shortly with another meeting. And we want to lift up the all-church events celebrating Reverend Sean's 10 years with OCUC. Woo! That's going to be a fun day, so please try to make it Saturday, October 14th at 4 p.m. right out there in the courtyard, and hopefully it won't rain. Also, another big thing, our autumn auction is Saturday, November 4th at 3 p.m. Woo! So, as a kind of head start on the auction, next week we will be auctioning off some tickets for a Touch of Americana. Touch of Americana. This is a concert at the Trinity Lutheran Church in Anaheim for Sunday, October 15th. So, oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. Well, now you know it's going to be really good. I hope you guys bid on that, and I hope you win. That's going to be great. So, let's see. So, we have an anniversary, we have an auction, and then we have the groups that meet weekly. We have the Fiction Book Club, and I notice it's the book that I'm reading right now, but I'm not done, so I won't be joining you. But the book is Horse, and it sounds like it's going to be really amazing. So, science fiction and philosophy discussion groups, they're on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Choir rehearsal is at 7 p.m. forever and always in Daniels Hall. Stitchwits, the crafters, are meeting Saturday at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. And the meditation group meets every Sunday at 9:45 a.m. in the youth group and on Zoom. And then there's a writing club that looks like it's meeting today, Sunday. No? Oh, I'm sorry. Next week, the The writing group will be meeting at 11:45 right after service in the Victoria Room. Sorry, I really am new. So that is the end of our service. Our service continues outside of this building and will resume here again next week. May you have a lovely, amazing week. And let's all go out and do our part. Jazz has indeed. The service is over. Well, whoa, no, wait, hold on. Please join us in singing our final song. Never mind. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. The service really is over. Let our service continue.